Hello everyone, welcome to Collaborate Ultra training and support for teaching staff. My name's Rebecca and I'm an online teaching coach at Swinburne Online. Today our session is going to cover what is Collaborate Ultra and why are we making the change at Swinburne Online, navigating to Collaborate Ultra in both Blackboard and Canvas, creating a session, which is a UC function, managing a session and recording that session, some Collaborate Ultra functions, how we close a session, accessing and sharing a recorded session, and also resources for teaching staff. So first of all, what is Collaborate Ultra? So Collaborate Ultra is the newest version of Blackboard Collaborate that's available at the moment. And just like Blackboard Collaborate, Ultra works in a very similar way. It's a real-time video conferencing tool and it lets you add files, share applications and use a virtual whiteboard to interact with students. Unlike the previous version of Collaborate, Ultra, one of the fantastic features of Ultra is it opens right in your browser. So there's no need to install any software in order to join a session. So this is great news for students and ELAs alike who've had years of trouble trying to access Collaborate sessions. That is no more, which is great news. So obviously that's one of the big reasons that we're making the change over to Collaborate Ultra. So it's browser based and you don't need to install or download anything. You just click a link and the Ultra room will open automatically. It has a clean and easy to use create session workflow. So that's for the unit coordinators. It has a much simpler microphone and camera setup and there's clear indicators of when everything is set up correctly. So one of the days where you'll be asking all of your students to raise their hand if they can hear you, you'll be able to see that your microphone is working. It has optimized bandwidth consumption, so even students that have, or ELAs that have low bandwidth should receive a consistent experience. So that's really going to help our students who are in remote areas. And it has a stack of features that are consistently being released. So similar to the previous Blackboard Collaborate, it has breakout rooms, a polling application, application sharing and enhanced accessibility, and they're consistently adding new features. So let's start with navigating to Collaborate Ultra in Blackboard. Now, the great thing as well about Ultra and the way it's set up in Blackboard and in Canvas is the navigation there is the same for students and teaching staff. So what you're going to be able to do in the session, as in whether you're a moderator or a participant, happens behind the scenes within the system. It will pick up your name and your details and know that you should be a moderator. There's no need to change those things. So if you're in Blackboard, you're going to go to the left-hand navigation panel, select Collaborate Links, and you'll see that your UC will have set up a section there called Collaborate Session Links. There's just going to be one link there, and it's going to take you to the Collaborate Ultra platform that allows you to toggle in between the live links and the recordings. So once you've clicked on that link, you're going to see a list of sessions. There may be just one session there, there may be several. It depends on the size of your unit. However, you'll select the session that applies to you, and that will open the Collaborate Ultra view or the Collaborate Ultra room. And that's that black screen in the bottom right-hand corner, and that will open straight into your browser. So it's going to open on a new tab. Now, if you're in Canvas, it's very similar, the way that you'll navigate to Collaborate Ultra. You will select Collaborate in the left-hand panel, and then you will have that list of sessions appear straight away. Again, you select the session that you're wanting to join, and the Collaborate Ultra room will open in a new tab straight in your browser. Okay, so let's have a look at how a unit coordinator is going to create a session. So in Blackboard, you need to be able to create that section that's going to sit in the Collaborate Links area. So you'll go to the tools or select Collaborate Links on the left-hand side, select Tools at the top and scroll down to the Ultra Collaborate New. You're going to select that, and it's going to bring up this screen here. So you're going to give the link a name, and that name should be Collaborate Session Links. The reason I have said that is it would be good to have consistency across all of the units in Blackboard. You can assign a colour to the link. That colour can be anything you like. And the description should be live links and recordings. So this is the link that students and ELAs are going to see in that Collaborate Links section of Blackboard. Okay, so once you've actually created that link there, then you're able to start creating some sessions. So if your unit's in Blackboard, select the Collaborate session links, and then you will have the Collaborate Ultra room will open, and it will have a list there showing the all upcoming sessions. So when you're creating this link, obviously there'll be no sessions listed there. You're going to click on the plus symbol in the top right-hand corner to be able to start creating your sessions. Now, just the same in Canvas, in order to create sessions, you're going to select Collaborate from the left-hand panel, as we discussed before, and that will open the Collaborate platform, and you can click again on the plus symbol in the top right to start creating sessions. So once you're into this area, whether you're in Blackboard or Canvas, it doesn't matter. The creating a session section in Collaborate Ultra is the same for both. So you will see this panel that is appearing on the left-hand side of the screen here for you to be able to complete the session details. So you've got the option at the top to add in a title. So for example, you might call this Group 1 Collaborate Room, or you might call it the name of the unit and that it's a Collaborate room. So think about the size of your unit. If you're going to have your Collaborate sessions all at different times, different days of the week, then there's only the need to create one Collaborate session. And your ELAs will all go into that one particular session at the time that suits them. Therefore, you're only sharing one link with the students, and it makes things a lot simpler. All you need to do is let your students know what time they actually need to be at your particular session. So you're going to select a start date and time, and it's best for the UCs to be setting this up in week 0, and you're going to just set this up for the whole TP, as I said. So this is going to really reduce the time that it takes to set up those sessions, and also avoid any confusion for your ELAs about where they need to go, and also for the students. So as I said, if you've got a really large group of ELAs, you might want to set up a few rooms so that if there happens to be 2 sessions running at the same time, you've got 2 separate areas for those sessions to run. So you're going to tick the no end open session checkbox. So as I said, that means that that session will just run for the entire teaching period, well actually to the end of time. You may want to put it as the end of the teaching period, but I would give it a little bit of extra time at the end of there. You leave the repeat checkbox empty, and then you're going to enter a description for the session if it's required. So here, if you've got the large group of ELAs, this is when you might want to say that it's Group 1 and the ELA's names there, so that once the ELAs go in, they know which session they're supposed to be attending. This won't appear on the main screen, so it's only once you go into this session settings. So you're going to make sure that you select the guest access, which is the green checkbox at the top underneath the title there, and that's so that your students can come, and it's selected to participant. It will always default there, which is fine. Just leave it there, and you'll see that guest link appearing there. That's what you're going to copy and paste on your discussion board and share with your students. The students will come into the session on this link as a participant. If this link is shared and an ELA comes in on this link, they will enter Collaborate Ultra as a participant. However, we can change that later, and I'll go through that in a little bit more detail soon. So once you've set those things up, you're going to click on Session Settings, which is at the bottom there, and that's going to bring up some other options. So you can customize the advanced session settings here based on the type of session that you're running. So you're going to generally allow participants to share their audio and video, post chat messages and draw on the whiteboard. Now this might differ slightly depending on the size of the session. If you have, over 100 participants, you may not want them all to be able to share audio and video, but generally for general student Collaborate sessions, you're going to have all of these ticked so that the participants can do these things. You can allow recording downloads, and I recommend that you tick this as it allows students to download that recording after the session is complete, as compared to just accessing a link to the recording. This allows them to be able to watch it in different formats. There's also the option to show the profile pictures for the moderators only, so that you can't see student profile pictures. There's no real issue with students showing their photos. However, you can obviously turn this off if there becomes an issue. Okay, so how do we manage a session as an ELA or a UC? So as I said before, all ELAs and UCs are automatically assigned to sessions as moderators. You don't need to add them in as moderators. That's just how you will enter the session. But in order to access the session as a moderator, you need to go in following the procedure where you go into Collaborate on the left-hand panel of either Blackboard or Canvas. Click on the Collaborate session links if you're in Blackboard and then select the session, or just select the session if you're in Canvas, and you'll come into the session as a moderator. Now, if an ELA does use the guest link, as I said, you won't be automatically picked up as a moderator, but it can be changed by another ELA who's already in the session. So don't worry if that does happen. Okay, so sharing a session. So when accessing Collaborate Ultra sessions, it's recommended that you're advising your students and for yourself to be using Chrome or Firefox as the browser. There can be some issues if you're using the other ones like Internet Explorer. So once your unit coordinator has created the link and you can enter the session, you'll also be able to go into this settings section, and you'll be able to access that guest link and share it with your students on the discussion board. Generally, your UC will be providing this guest link to you so that you can provide it at the beginning of the teaching period. However, if you ever need it, you can go back in and see it there. Okay, so let's go into how to manage a session. So Collaborate Ultra has a lot of the same functions as the traditional Collaborate, but we'll go through it because it looks a little bit different on the screen. So there's the session menu, which is in the top left-hand corner there, the 3 horizontal lines. So once you're in the room, you'll be able to click on there, and that is going to give you a list of options there. That's where you'll be able to get help, report issues, and start and stop the session recording. The Collaborate panel in the bottom right, which is the purple arrows in the right there, that opens a menu that allows you to look at the chat, the attendee list. It allows you to share content and look at those session settings, so where that guest link would be. My settings are the same as the session settings in the Collaborate panel. You've got there at the bottom the ability to share audio, which is the microphone setting there. Once you click on that and it's working, you will see it turns green and you'll see the levels of the volume going up and down. So that's when you know that your microphone is on and it's working and people can hear you. Next to that, you've got the video symbol, that will have a cross, has a cross through it there to say that it's not being shared. When it is being shared, you'll see that cross disappear and you'll be able to actually see yourself, your video on the screen. Ultra is really clever in that whenever somebody is speaking, that is the video that it will display. So you'll see it flipping in the session between different participants if they are sharing their video. To the right of that, you have the raise hand function, and that is used in a similar way to obviously the old Collaborate. However, the great thing about Ultra is that when you click on the raise hands, you'll be able to see that several students have raised their hand and a little number will appear like a notification to say, for example, 10 students have raised their hands, and you'll be able to go through those students' questions one by one. So the first student who had raised their hand will be answered first, and then after you answer their question, you can then put their hand down. So this is a little bit different to the traditional Collaborate where you had to rely on students putting their hands down or asking them to put their hand down. Once you've answered the question, you can just put their hand down for them. And you will move through those questions in order then. Okay, so once you're actually in the session, you can also go in and adjust your audio and video settings. So before, during, or after you've recorded a session, you may need to adjust the settings, and you just select the My Settings option from the Settings tab on the Collaborate panel. So that was the one on the right-hand side, the purple one at the bottom right. And when you look there, you'll be able to set up your camera and microphone, adjust volume of your speakers and your headphone and microphone there. And you can just set things up by following the prompts. The notification settings option allows you to see a series of options to turn on and off visual and audio notifications of different varieties. So once you get into the session, have a look at those. It just depends on what you prefer, but for example, you might want to turn off the notification settings for people raising their hands or putting something in the chat room, because if you're presenting, it can be a little bit off-putting if you're hearing that notification all of the time. You'll be able to select the session settings there as well to change the amount that a participant can do within your Collaborate session. So you can mute participants and hide their video and stop them from posting and contributing to the whiteboard. So that's all sitting in the bottom menu where you'll see that wheel in the bottom right. Okay, so once the session is actually has started, you'll be able to see the participants and moderators in that section where it's got the two heads there, and it's got a notification to say to there. So you can see in that screenshot that one person is a moderator and one person is a participant. So in that moderator section, you will see all of the ELAs hopefully. And you'll be able to adjust controls there. So say, for example, Han Solo is actually an ELA and they've come in on that guest link. You can click on those, that circle with the 3 dots and change that person from a participant to a moderator, and you'll be able to see that happen straight away. You'll also be able to have a look at the roles and the controls that those participants or moderators have within the session by clicking on that circle. Okay, so one of the things that you'll need to do as an ELA is to record your session. This is easy to do. You select the session menu, the top 3 horizontal lines in the left, and that will open out a menu, and you'll see there that you've got the option to start the recording. The good thing about Ultra is that once the recording starts, you know that it is recording because a little camera with a red light appears in the top left there. You'll also see a message saying that the session is being recorded. just to sort of give you further clarification that that's happening. Just the same as when you want to stop the recording, you go into the same session menu in the top left, select to stop the recording, and that session menu icon will return to normal. And you'll see a message saying that the session has stopped recording. Okay, one of the really great things about Ultra as well with the recordings is they become available straight away. So there's no need to wait and be telling your ELAs that the recording's coming, or the students. You'll be able to access it shortly after the session. Okay, so another thing that you will need to do as an ELA is share a PowerPoint with your students during your Collaborate session. This is really easy to do in Ultra. All you need to do is go to the session settings menu in the bottom right, the purple arrows, and you'll be able to select the section there that says about sharing files. So you select that, and you can drag or just click on that plus symbol to be able to select a PowerPoint from your computer and put it in there. It'll appear there, and when you're ready to share it in the session, you just need to select Share Now. When you come to the end of your session and you've stopped the recording, you can click on to the button that says Stop Sharing. It's a little like stop button in the top right hand corner of your screen, and then the room becomes empty again, ready for the next lot of ELAs or UCs to come in and start another session. Okay, so the next function we'll talk about is chat. So again, this can be selected in the menu from the bottom right, the purple arrows, and you'll see that there's a little speech bubble. That's where the chat will happen. And the chat happens in that window on the right-hand screen. Unfortunately, not like the traditional Collaborate, you can't pull this screen and move it anywhere else. It can only exist there in the right-hand panel. So when you are ready to chat with anyone, you just type your question or response, and you can add emoticons there, different characters. And you'll be chatting with everyone. The default is to chat with everyone. Just be careful, there is the option to chat with just moderators. However, as I said, because it defaults to chatting with everyone, you just need to be really careful that you have selected moderators. What I would recommend is that you try to avoid that, and anything that you're chatting with your colleagues about is something that you can chat with the students about as well. Okay, so another function of Collaborate is the whiteboards. So you're able to select to share a blank whiteboard, and your screen will then change to become a whiteboard which the other participants will be able to see. And there's a range of tools that you can use within the whiteboard. So if you see on the black panel at the top left, you'll be able to see the select button, which is the arrow, the pointer, which is the finger there, a pencil, so you can write on the whiteboard, shapes, obviously add those in, and any colors. You can also put in text, so that's so that you can type into the whiteboard. And then to the right of that is the eraser. Now, the eraser doesn't work in the way that you expect it to, in that if you click on that eraser, the entire whiteboard will clear. It doesn't just allow you to erase some of the whiteboard. After you have cleared that whiteboard, you won't be able to retrieve that cleared content. And once you also move through to the next slide in your PowerPoint presentation, all of the content on that whiteboard will be gone as well. So what I do recommend is that if you're wanting to use the whiteboard and you're wanting students to be able to access that content later, is that you have one of the ELAs take a screenshot of that whiteboard before you move on into your presentation. Okay, the next thing that we'll talk about is sharing applications. So you can share an application, or you can share your entire screen with your students. However, just to be aware, because this is a opening in your browser, Collaborate Ultra doesn't like sharing Collaborate Ultra on your screen, so it kind of can make the screen scramble. So what you need to do is make sure that you have the tab open of the screen that you want to share with your students, and Collaborate Ultra will just sit there on another tab behind that, and we'll keep recording. However, you need to make sure you've got that screen up on your computer that you're wanting the students to see. Okay, so there's also a whole range of other Collaborate functions, and we'll be going through those functions as part of further training on using Collaborate Ultra. However, the technical side of things, which is the things that I've been through in this session, is going to be available in the ELA portal. You'll have access to this video. You'll also have access to a actual guide, a hard copy guide, and there's going to be numerous training sessions that will be run for you to help get you comfortable with using Collaborate Ultra. So some of the other features, however, are sharing applications that we've gone through, and desktop screens, programs and files, how to use the polling feature, and also breakout groups or rooms. Okay, so when you've finished your Collaborate session, you're going to obviously stop the recording, and you're going to leave the session. Once you leave the session, as I mentioned, it just means that the room will still exist. However, your session will have ended, and students can join another session later. Okay, so you can just leave the session by selecting on the left-hand side there to leave the session from the session menu. Okay, so in order to access and share a recorded session, which you're going to have to do as an ELA, as I mentioned, the great thing about Ultra is that recording is going to be available to students, ELAs, very soon after the session has run. And students can easily access that recording themselves by going into the Collaborate menu on the left-hand side, selecting the Collaborate links, and entering into the Collaborate Ultra platform there. And you can see on the left-hand side there that then you can toggle between sessions and recordings. Now, you can either tell your students to navigate there, or if you want to be able to actually provide them with a direct link, you can do that as well. And you just do that by, as I said, going in the same way, coming through to the Blackboard Collaborate Ultra, selecting on the session menus there, and then recordings. You'll see all of the recordings appearing there. You can right click on the view recording and copy the link address there, and then students, when you post that to your discussion board, students will be able to click on that link and it will go straight to the recording. Okay, so we're nearly at the end of the session. There's going to be plenty of resources, as I mentioned, available for teaching staff on how to use Collaborate Ultra, and these will sit within the ELA portal in the ELA resources section. There'll be a special section there just for Collaborate, and it'll house all of these guides for you. So that's the end of our session. Thanks for watching. And if you have any questions about using Collaborate Ultra, you can either speak to your unit coordinator or your teaching coach. And I hope to see you in some of the further training sessions that we're running for ELAs and UCs on using Collaborate.